Hi guys, my name is Kosta and today I'm painting Wolverine for the Tanuki Painting Contest. In this video I'm gonna walk you through how I went from this unpainted FDM print into this finished piece. Before we start painting I did all the prep work, so let me show you that first. I always start with sanding the parts, but I don't go crazy, I just do spot checks, so only the areas that actually need sanding. Stuff like overhang, little print bumps, and the top layers where FDM can leave those tiny imperfections. As you can see, there's a hole on the top of the torso. Luckily it doesn't matter at all, because the upper torso covers it. If this was visible I would reprint it. This kind of hole happens sometimes with lining infill. The top layer can't fill there. So yeah, it was a bit of unlucky here. After that I use my candle technique to remove stringing. Then I fill in the gap with green stuff rolled spot putty, super easy to smooth out. Once that's dry I wipe off all the sanding dust. Seriously, make sure you do this. If dust gets trapped on your spray putty, it will ruin the smooth finish. Then I hit everything with motive spray putty to hide all the layer lines. And after that I go to Vallejo grey primer. And now the model is fully ready for paint. I wanted to try something different for this project and work from the bottom up, so we're starting with a base. First I will lay down a base coat of Vallejo Char Brown, then mix in a little Vallejo charcoal and spray it between the planks and into the shadow areas. By the way, I'm using my new airbrush here, the Mobius 0.2. This thing is amazing and has super fine control. I've only had a Harder & Steenbeck Ultra with a 0.45 nozzle until now, so having a smaller nozzle feels great to have. For the highlights I spray Vallejo Leather Brown, but for some reason I didn't like how it looked in the moment. So I went back over everything with Char Brown mixed with Deck 10 to soften it. And then, of course, I went back to Leather Brown again because I ended up liking that better. For the shoes I use Vallejo Char Brown as the base. Then I hit them with a black wash to dirty them up. I also add some targeted darker spots, so certain areas look extra worn. After that I go in with Citadel Drakenhof Nightshade in the deeper areas for shadows. For the stitching I use Vallejo Leather Brown. And the soles are Vallejo Charcoal with another pass of Drakenhof Nightshade for the shadows. For the pants I lay down Vallejo Dark Blue as the base coat. Then I highlight with Vallejo Andrea Blue only on the high points, like the thighs and the calves. Then I shade everything with Drakenhof Nightshade, spraying it gently into the folds and the deepest shadow areas. I also totally forgot to paint the top part of the pants blue earlier, so I used a paper towel to mask the rest and avoid overspray. Not the most professional masking job, but hey, it worked. For the belt I used Vallejo Char Brown, and for the gold belt buckle I used Citadel Retributor armor. Then for the leather belt I highlight with Saddle Brown, and darken everything again with Drakenhof Nightshade. Nice and simple. For a tank top I base coat with Vallejo Deck 10. Then I add a few drops of London Grey to the mix and spray that into the shadow areas. It's super quick but gives depth. For his necklace I use Vallejo gunmetal, nothing fancy here. It already looks good once the light hits it. Now onto the skin, my favorite part, but also the one you don't want to mess up. I start with Vallejo Warlord Purple as the base coat. It looks weird at first, but it's perfect for building those natural shadows later. Then I add red ink into the warm areas and shadow zones, under the pecs, between muscles and around joints. For the veins I follow all the sculpted lines with Vallejo Andrea Blue. Then I go over everything with a very thin down Vallejo flat flash. You don't want this to be thick, the whole point is that the underlayers still show through. Next up I spray Vallejo Sunny Skin Tone super lightly, just to add a bit of yellow warmth. Then to bring the vibrance back, I mix German orange with 2 drops of red ink. I saw Ground Effector do this and honestly the results are amazing. I'm gonna use this on all of my future skin tones. For the highlights I spray Vallejo Light Flash on very specific points, nose, cheekbones and the top of the muscles. Then I take a brown pastel and apply them into the deep creases and muscle separations. Adds a super realistic shadow effect. For the shaved chin, I use Citadel Griff Charger Grey. For Wolverine's claws, I use Green Stuff World Chrome straight from the bottle. This stuff is really shiny, and no mixing needed. For the body hair on his arms and torso, I dry with Vallejo Black over the skin. Then I soften it with Griff Charger Grey to keep everything dark but clean. His actual hair is Vallejo Black, and then I dry brush a mix of char brown and deck tan over it to break up the flatness. And now the scary part, the blood spatters. You don't want it to be too little, but also not too much. So yeah, this part is pretty stressful. I load a brush with Vallejo Bloody Red, a pretty thick amount, and then use my airbrush to blast air at it. That will give it a supernatural blood spray across the model. I also manually add some streaks and thick areas on his gloves. And now for his cigar. I painted char brown and add streaks of saddle brown for texture. For the fire at the tip I start with deck 10 as the bright underlayer. Then I glaze red ink over it and then layer brighter and brighter colors, from red to orange to yellow. I use Citadel Makel's purple for the lips and eyelids to give them some life. And now onto the most stressful part of the whole model, the eyes. These are the smallest eyes I have ever painted, so getting good shots was a nightmare, but honestly I'm pretty proud of how the eyes turned out. Then I carefully paint the eyes themselves, beginning with a dark blue, then adding Andrea blue for the highlights and then a black center. For his eyebrows I use Vallejo black and I add small streaks of saddle brown. And then finish it off with a tiny specular highlight, one big and one small for the eyes. And of course finish with a gloss varnish for that realistic watery effect. For the two separate arms on the base I use flat flash as the base coat, live flash for the highlights and German orange mix again for the warmth. Then I go heavy with bloody red on the cut surface. I do this in a thick coat. For the pole cue it's Vallejo Beastie Brown with Dragunov Nightshade in the shadows. For the 8-ball I start with deck 10, then use a very tint black to re-establish the 8. Then I varnish it to make it look glossy. For the blood on the base, I brush on more bloody red and gloss varnish it to keep that wet look. Only thing that's left is the white ball, and then the painting is done. Now for my favorite part, assembling everything and finally seeing the full piece come together. All of the work, all of the hours and all of the layers, it all pays off right here. Alright, that's Wolverine done, and this is my entry for the Tanuki Painting Contest. I am super happy with how it turned out. Thank you all for watching, and if you enjoyed this video, feel free to leave a like, subscribe, and then I'll see you in the next project.